Welcome to Texas Franchise Radio, where your hosts, Josh Cherry and Robbie Marlowe, bring you all things franchising in the Texas market. Franchising is one of 3 growth strategies businesses can use to expand and capture market share, effective when done right. But there's a lot to this dynamic business model. Learn from others in the industry as we bring on all levels of franchise operators and experts.
Texas Franchise Radio. You ready? Let's go. Robbie and Josh going live, and it's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business? Well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talking about? We talking business models, invest in franchises. We going.
What's up, Conroe, Houston? This is Josh.
And Robbie here with Texas Franchise Radio.
Welcome back. We left Robbie stranded last month. I was in Florida, I think, but he held the fort down here. We had Dave on and
Tony.
We talked a lot of business strategy.
Yep.
Some good stuff. 365 driven.
365 driven. I think I misspoke and called it 360 driven, but I told him like Christmas, Thanksgiving. You got to take a couple of days off a year.
Yeah,
like.
it's not as bad as saying philanthropy. So I still win on misspeaking on the road radio.
We've got many shows ahead of us, so maybe I can take that crown from you. Because you know I can mispronounce some names and some words. My redneck gets a.
Speaking of mispronouncing names, let's try to say Amanda's last name. So we got some of our two of the newest Delta Life Fitness franchisees with us today in the studio. Super excited to have you guys. Jessica Holloway, I know how to say that name.
Hello.
And Amanda Babonis.
Babonis.
There we go.
Nice.
Man, Amanda's got the perfect radio voice. Like, hello, it's Texas Franchise Radio.
Maybe she should do your intro now.
You know?
Can I do the rap?
No, it's Robbie.
Yeah, that's my job. That's my job.
Hey, speaking of the rap, you were laughing a little too hard there, Jessica.
I was not expecting that much thug out of either of you. So I'm super impressed, actually.
I think there's some videos of me karaoke and Eminem floating around there. So
I need to find them.
You probably don't recognize it because you can't tell the difference between Marshall Mathers and Robbie. He just nails it.
Very true. Very true. Could have been a stand-in.
Hey, so welcome back, Texas Franchise Radio. We're going to talk all things franchising here in the Texas market. We've had a lot of shows where we've went in depth about different processes and procedures people should follow to find the perfect franchise. And really, go back and watch some of those shows if you're interested, if you're still looking for which franchise to get into. There's no right answer. There's emerging, there's local, there's national, there's international brands. There's brands that just started and they've got one unit open and not a lot figured out.
Yep.
There's brands that have been doing this for 50 years and they have a lot figured out, but there's no room for innovation. There's a lot of different franchises out there. And the answer that we've been over several times is there is no perfect franchise. It's which one is the perfect franchise for you. What matches your skill set, what matches your interest level. You can be successful or unsuccessful with any brand.
I think it's funny because you ever follow hashtags on Instagram? I'm like trying to figure that out. And there's one franchising, so I jump on some conversations, and they're like, McDonald's prints money. And I always comment underneath it, well, if you're the right operator.
Yeah.
Because McDonald's, they close stores down too.
They sure do.
And I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be successful in McDonald's because I would hate it every day going in there and cooking hamburgers.
That's true.
I did fast food for about 2 hours when I was 16. I realized it wasn't for me. So I always try to explain it to them, like, you have to find the franchise. Most people, we come from a corporate world and we say, hey, we're going to go get into franchising. So we looked for something that we've been doing for 30 years. And talking to the franchise brokers and the franchise consultants, we're finding right now that when they start having conversations with potential franchisees, they start getting down to it and they're like, hey, you're about to start a business. Go do what you want to do. Like, you don't have to be a project man, you go do whatever you want to do. And I think that's what's great about franchising is you go into business and it's already somewhat completed for you, and you have somebody jumping in a partnership with you.
You have a lot of stuff done for you. Even if you get into a super, super young franchise, like I'm talking like one unit, even then, they have a logo, they have that stuff takes time and money to go create.
They had the idea.
Right?
They had the idea. That's tough.
And you've got a partner that you're with that you're trying to figure out. If they have 1 unit or 1,000 units, you have a partner.
That really wants you to be successful.
Yes.
That will hopefully, if you pick the right brand and you look at the founders and know who they are, that will get in there, roll their sleeves up and work with you. And I think that's what you're looking for in a franchise.
And we've talked, like I said, we've talked at length on previous shows about all the different things looking for the right franchise. And that's the answer really is, and go back and listen to some of those shows. It's just finding the right one for you that you can be a successful operator in that matches you. Now, there's also, one last question is franchising in general even right for you? We had a gentleman fly in from Ohio yesterday and spend the day with us, Bob Surface, great gentleman, been in the franchise industry for a long time. He owned 3 GNC franchises. His wife Holly owned a bunch of yogurt franchises. They now own a Workout Anytime franchise. And he said to me yesterday, just driving around their car, he's like, whether it has been GNC, the yogurt place, or Workout Anytime, he's like, I just love franchising. Like he was like, I just love it. He's like, but we have a mutual friend, Roy in Kentucky. He's like, I know Roy. I don't think Roy would be a good franchisee because Roy likes to invent. He likes to do it. So that's a big question too. You have to ask yourself, am I a franchisee that wants to go in? Yes, I can innovate and be creative on how I drag members in or how I do this or how I treat my staff or how I incentivize, but I'm pretty much just like following a playbook. Or do you always want to be reinventing the wheel? Because if you're always wanting to reinvent the wheel, there's nothing wrong with that. That just doesn't always make the best for a franchise system.
And I think that comes back to lots of ideas, right? If you're a person who has lots and lots of ideas, you might want to mix it up, do different things all the time. But if you like your one idea, then let's roll with that one idea.
Or if you have a little bit of organized chaos like I have, you have
Right.
great ideas, but at the same time, like you need somebody to help you structure those ideas. I think that's also when you have that support and you have the guideline, it does help direct you in the right way.
Right.
Do you think finding the right franchise for you and the one that you enjoy working in, do you think that would prevent maybe having those scatterbrain ideas if you can come in and find a product that you really care about?
Yeah, definitely. I think if it's something you care about and you can focus on one thing and you have that partner that can maybe help rein you in a little bit.
Keep you,
Because I know I need to be reined in.
Sometimes it takes a lot of work to rein them back in.
Yep.
Well,
I'm looking at you, Jessica.
You know, when you have an idea and you start down this path and you think you have a clear, into that path, that doesn't happen. It always branches off. And then somebody like myself and Jessica both, we both have big ideas. It's easy, I think, for us to be able to get kind of scattered. I want to do this, I don't want to do that. But then to have somebody, like you said, rein us back in, then it definitely helps allow us some creativity, but also to still be able to reach that end goal that we want.
Yeah. No, makes sense. So that's over selecting the right franchise. The name of the show today, are you guys ready to dive in? The name of and you guys are primed for this because you both recently signed a franchise agreement. The name of the show today is, so you've bought, quote unquote, into a franchise, now what? So the selection process is over. Are you a franchisee or need to start up your own business? That question's been answered. Which brand you're going to go with has been answered. You've signed the agreement and now it's go time. So that's the name of the show. Now what? And I want to clarify some things out there for everybody, no matter what franchise system you're in. I just want to go over some tips that can help you be successful no matter which franchise you're in, but what to do now that the franchise agreement's been signed. So let's start with what's different about franchising. What are some of the pros? What are some of the cons? What's different about franchising versus just starting up your own business? Anybody?
Actually having the risk rate, you have a much higher risk, everything that I've looked into if you have a startup versus a franchise. So a startup, not having the support beside you, that clear guidelines that's been tested already, then you're going to have a higher risk of failure, compared to reward. So franchise for me, what made it different is I wanted to go from big box fitness facility to franchising because somebody can help lead me there. I've seen this proven. I've seen different locations open. They're successful. So it tells me that it is a proven model.
Yeah. And what else? Like what else is different about starting a franchise versus a startup? What's been different
think it's the guidelines.
Your process right now. You've found a site. You've signed a lease and you're going through the architects and construction.
We're finding a contractor.
What's been different about that? Whereas if it had just been Jessica, it can be good or bad, but what's been different about if you were just doing this all by yourself?
I think I had a guide. I had a guideline. I had a list. I had a template. I had step 1, step 2, step 3 to follow. Instead of maybe if I was out on my own, I would have gone to step 3 before step 1 or something along those lines. I had recommendations given to me. Hey, I like this contractor, I like this architect, I like this plan, where I wouldn't have had any of those suggestions made to me if I didn't have the team of the franchise behind me.
Even ordering equipment, like you've been doing that a lot lately.
Yep.
You go down and
hey, here's a list of all the equipment that you need, and here are 2 choices, 3 choices maybe, of where you can find that equipment.
And it's so much more expensive if you didn't have that and you're going to go try to purchase equipment on your own.
Yep.
Going from like, having this price point that the franchise actually already sets up because you know exactly what equipment and what vendors to use, from that, you go on your own, you can end up paying 3-4 times, that amount for the same equipment or things that you actually won't even use.
Or you would have forgotten.
Exactly.
What about little things that maybe you even forget about or don't realize? Like, how much convincing did you have to do to the SBA or the bank to convince them to lend you on this project?
0.
They were already comfortable.
They were
with
already comfortable and in with the brand. They needed to trust me, of course,
Yep.
which is awesome. And they gave me all of those guidelines again of what I needed to show them to prove my worth to them. But they had already bought into the brand because they had done it before.
So franchising gives you a lot of benefits. You've already got the logo, the branding guidelines, the operations manual, the templates, the site model criterias, the how do you select a site? How do you sign a lease? What needs to go into the lease? How do you order your equipment? How do you get this? How do you get insurance? What staffing requirements do we need? What's the overall playbook for my grand opening? How do I operate when I open? A lot of stuff that if you didn't have that franchise behind you, you don't sleep. You got to do that night and day. Now, those are some of the good things about going with the franchise brand. But and those are great, and that's why people pay that franchise fee, and that's why they're comfortable writing a royalty payment to the franchisor, because it's like having, you're paying a 6% royalty, but you're getting like 5 extra employees to your business, right?
Yeah.
So it's totally worth it. So those are the good things. However, there's some misconceptions in franchising. Robbie, we see it all the time. People buying into, across every brand that we know. There's a good friend of ours just opened a spa down in Spring, and I think it's 6 months, and they're going out of business, and that breaks my heart. But there is a lot of misnomers about buying into a franchise. Sometimes people think because franchises do come with so much, they almost get 100% reliant on just the system doing it for them and not doing their part. So let's talk about that for a second. What's not different about franchising? What is still very incumbent upon the owner-operator? Because it's still their business.
They still have to work.
Right. Let's talk about that for a minute. What's not different?
Well, I still had to go out and get the loan. Like, yes, you said, I suggest you use this bank and this is why it's good. I still had to go do all of that work. I still had to turn in all of that paperwork. I still have to place all those orders. I still had to find a realtor and look at places. You're doing all the same steps. You just have a little backing. So the same steps have to be done no matter what.
Mm-hmm. That's true. There's a lot of people that we've seen it time and time again. The number one thing, now you've signed a franchise agreement, now what? Still, and this goes for everything. this is how I would treat my life. Like, still, the number one most important factor in success is still you. It's still the operator.
Still putting in work.
Yeah. And we see it a lot because we know a lot of other franchisors. Candace is a great example from TuneUp. Candace opened up the first TuneUp on 1488, and she talks about all the stuff she did to just blow that business up. She really knocked it out of the park. She did a lot of activities on that. And then sometimes you get 30 or 40 franchisees down. They look at the numbers, they see what previous stores are doing, and they just assume
It's magic.
I can open the doors and it'll do the same that business did without seeing or understanding all the work that still has to go into to build up that membership level or level of that book of customers, right?
So a lot of times with entrepreneurs, they don't realize how much work they have to put in no matter what, whether it's a startup or a franchise. If it's a startup, you like you said, live and breathe it. You don't sleep at night. You have so much work ahead of you. With a franchise, you go into that sometimes if you've never owned a business, thinking here it is. It's clear, it's concise, it's something easy to follow, and then it's easy to get in that habit. I'm just going to read what they said about this. How do you do marketing on that? And I'm just going to hire these employees, and these employees are going to use this training manual, and then they'll be okay. And that's not always the case. Different personalities require different type of management skills. So when you have employees in there, you can't just read a piece of paper, get a little bit of support, and expect that you're going to be able to be a good manager, a good owner based off of that criteria, because you're going to have different individuals that are underneath you that you're going to have to train on your own. Like I'm really good with audio training and visual training, but if you tell me just to read a piece of paper and learn, I'm not going to learn that way. So there's a lot more hands-on than people really realize with that, whether you're in a startup or a franchise, either one.
Yeah. Because I made a post about this the other day. Like most business owners, when you first start, you're overworked and underpaid. And and you're right. So when you first start a business, whether it's on your own or franchising, you're going to be overworked and underpaid. You just are. for a while. And most businesses take a long time to hit that break even point. It could take up to 12 months to start hitting break even. So it takes a long time and it takes a strong mindset, but the goal should be to get into a business. For me personally, again, I say the goal. The goal is dependent on the person, right? But the goal for me would be, I wouldn't mind working my butt off for 12 or 18 months and then having a business plan or a business model where I could eventually work my way out and be in it less and less.
You don't want to buy yourself a job, right?
Yeah,
you want to be able
exactly.
to have something for the long run that you can leave to your family or you can retire on. So to actually have the clear, concise guidelines like we talked about, but putting in that, diving deep and putting in the work for a while, it's not a month, will make all the difference. Absolutely.
And some franchisors are better about that and more honest about it up front. Like, is it Jimmy John's? Robbie is the one that they straight up tell them, hey, we don't ever want you to work your way out of the business. We want you in here at 5 a.m. making sandwiches for the life of your franchise agreement. And if you're not okay with that, we don't want you to come be a franchise. Yeah. So, and like you said, McDonald's, however, McDonald's is really good at setting people up to, you have to learn how to run one. But once you get that, I mean, they want you to own 10.
Isn't that how Chick-fil-A is
50.
too? You have to basically be grandfathered into it.
Chick-fil-A is a lot different. It's probably one of the most unique. We saw another, a chicken model that's another model that's starting to take after the Chick-fil-A, the one Bobby sent us. But that one's more of, yes, you do have to work your way up as an operator, and then they finance quite a bit of it to actually open your store, and you only own a very small percentage.
But it's proving your investment, right? They want someone who wants to be part of it, and that's how they find their people.
And because when you're trying to grow a franchise, you're looking for two things. You're looking for the money people and you're looking for the operators. And those aren't always the same. And so Chick-fil-A just put their money down on, we're just going to get proven operators. We'll back the operators and we'll grow that way.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefits to that. There's a lot of downside to that. Obviously they've done great at it, but it's hard to replicate.
True.
Yeah. All right. What else? Anything else different? What's not different about franchising? Robbie, you got anything?
No, I think y'all covered everything. I just was listening and let the ladies talk. And,
That's what we do best.
And obviously Josh, so.
All right, we're about to go to the break here. We got about 60 seconds. We're going to talk about what to do after you sign your franchise agreement. We're going to get into more of Amanda and Jessica's story when we get back here on Texas Franchise Radio.
In the business, well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
What can the Better Living for Texans program do for you? You can learn how to increase your consumption of fruits and vegetables, choose foods that are relatively inexpensive and good to eat, make your food dollars last longer, prepare quick, nutritious meals, help your children learn how to eat healthier snacks, and much more. Our program is committed to helping people like you improve your health through providing research-based nutrition education in a friendly, cost-free, and relaxed environment. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talking about? We talking business models, invest in franchises. We going full throttle. Learn about the industry. I know you got the questions.
Welcome back, Conroe, Houston, on Texas Franchise Radio. Today we're talking about I signed a franchise agreement, now what? Or I bought into a franchise, now what? Best tips, best tactics post signing the agreement. We've already been through the selection process. We've already identified the franchising's right for us. We figured out what brand we want to go through, and we signed an agreement. Now what's next? What's the most important step? And we brought two of the newest Delta Life Fitness franchisees in the Delta Life Fitness system, Amanda and Jessica, to help us out with this, because you guys have recently, you guys are pretty special. You guys are a special group. You've signed a franchise agreement, and you're both doing a little bit of non-standard things in your prep phase here, getting ready. Amanda, let's start with you. So we've got a franchise agreement for you over in Orlando. It's
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Yep, very close.
Same.
Hour away, hour and a half away.
We write so many franchise agreements that I can't keep them all straight. I'm just kidding. That's not true. So Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's in Florida, by the way.
And that's not in Houston.
No, it's in Florida.
But you're in Houston.
I am.
So let's talk about that. So you're getting ready to go back and open a franchise in Tampa. Most franchises you buy into, some of them don't have any training. Some of them have 1 day training. Some of them have 1 week training. Some of them have 2 weeks of training. In any business you're going to go start, it's really hard to learn everything you're going to need to know in 1 week, right?
Correct.
You're opening in Tampa, you're here in Houston. What's up with that?
I have packed up my family and moved to Houston for 3 months to really just bury myself in the business, learn everything that I can about the actual franchisee, being inside there, how to run it, what's needed for marketing, and then to jump in with the corporate as well to really see what I'm going to be doing with my life. What am I going to be bringing to Florida? Is this something that is right for me? I've seen everything on paper. Everything looks fantastic on paper, but what does it look like inside the studio? Who are the people that I'm going to be joining for hopefully a very, very long time? So that's what I did. Have a 9-month-old baby with me, enrolled him into preschool while we're here. So it's been a fun adventure, and I'm actually having a lot of fun. I've learned a whole lot over the last month that I've been here.
That's commitment.
It is commitment.
That's commitment. Getting ready to open in Tampa Bay, and you're here for 3 months, just rolling your sleeves up, just working. So, funny story. Robbie and I had a guest on the show one time, Steve McKinney. He was he was in the NFL for 11 years. 11 years.
Yeah, something like that.
11 years, and on his transition out, he went to, I'm sure you guys being Texas Franchise Radio advocates, you've already heard of this story.
15 times.
So whenever he got ready to open his McDonald's, they were like, hey, cool story, you have the money and you're in the NFL, but you don't know how to run a McDonald's. So he had to go, he worked a drive-through for like a year.
I think they make you work every position through McDonald's throughout a year. I don't think you get paid.
No.
Yeah, so.
You pay them to work, yeah.
So
basically.
he went and worked the drive-through at McDonald's just to understand the business model. So I really admire what you're doing. That's really cool.
And I bet he's going to be successful as well.
I think he's already got,
I think multiple units.
Yeah, he's at like 5 or 6 open
Yeah,
already,
so.
on his way to 10. So I think you're right. He's gonna, and apparently his stores are doing very well too. So if you go eat some McDonald's around this area, actually, I think he's got some.
Is he still in the drive-thru?
Around here? He's not in the drive-thru anymore. Now he just does guest appearances on Texas Franchise Radio.
That works for me too.
Jessica, same thing. Like, I know you're getting ready to open. Conroe, what's up? We got Jessica
Yep.
coming to town.
Here we are.
We've been talking to these guys for a little over a year now. We were just talking about this on Texas Franchise Radio, and now Conroe's finally about to get
Sorry
a
it took
Life
so long.
Fitness.
Well,
Yeah.
as soon as we mentioned it on the radio here in Conroe that we were selling franchises in Conroe, it sold. So I'm just saying, you must have been listening to the radio show.
That did happen. A very special case as well. One, just you were familiar with the brand from a million years ago, but I'm just thinking here recently. So you signed your agreement, you're going through everything right now. You've got a lot on your plate. Your site selection, SBA, you're doing all that. But where'd you come from this morning? Where were you at this morning?
I was at the new Magnolia location getting my test out Tuesday on. I had to go in, get my workout, be a part of the studio, be a part of the brand, show my face around because Magnolia's right here next to Conroe. So getting in and helping her out, learning from that brand. I spend a lot of time with the owner, Cindy, there, seeing what she's doing every day so I know what I'm going to be doing every day. I've been part of the brand for a long time as a person working out, as a member, but I haven't been inside that office. So I need to be inside that office for as long as I can before I open my own studio.
It's so great. I mean, like, we just talked about you moving, for 3 months to come learn it. I've watched. You've been attached to Cindy's hip for the last month, and I imagine you'll probably keep that up until you hit phase 2, and you're like really hitting it hard for your studio. And then when I think back, Cindy did the same thing in spring. Cindy was working childcare, for free in spring, just learning the system, sitting next to Jennifer, understanding it. So those are, I think, if I had just signed a franchise agreement, that is absolutely one of the steps I would do. I would try to go find a franchisee that I could make really good friends with, and I would just try to attach myself to their hip for at least a month or so and just really learn the business. And you guys have done a great job of that. Well done. So let's talk about whenever you get into a franchise system or any business, really, you've got a couple of different methods you can do to grow your business, right? Most people want to focus on paid marketing. And as the franchisor, most of our scripts and the operation, our entire chapter 7, which is marketing and our operations manual, is really about paid marketing because that's where we focus a lot of our attention. And paid marketing is extremely important. But there's a lot of different things you can do. There's paid marketing, there's guerrilla tactics, corporate incentives, strategic partners. we've been traditionally, Delta Life Fitness has been really good at just paid advertising, Facebook, Instagram advertising. But we're learning a lot too. What's cool about you guys coming down and learning more with us and the franchisees really rolling their sleeves up and trying to figure out what's best for the brand is we like to learn. You know, we have to keep brand consistency. We have to keep things operating the same. But when we see things that are working well, we can wrap that up, systematize it, and get it back out to the entire franchisee base. You guys have been doing some really cool things since you've been here in Houston, learning the model, right?
Correct.
We've really been making a lot of ground on the guerrilla tactics, the corporate incentives, and the strategic partners. And I know that you come from the big box world where the name of the game was 8,000 members. So being out there in the community, hitting up the block was so important. Talk to us about some of the things that you've seen that other franchises in any system can do to be more successful and bring in more business outside of just that paid advertising.
So the big box, really it's feet on the street, right? How many people can we touch to actually get a card in their hand, inside their mailbox, being in direct mail, those type of things can we actually touch to get them inside the door? The more they see the name, the more apt they are to remember you, and then eventually they'll come in. You're not going to hand somebody a card and they come in right away. That's just not the way it works. So they have to see your name over and over and over again and really get that brand out. So guerrilla marketing, people don't really understand what that term means. So the easiest way for me is just feet on the street, getting personal contacts, getting inside the stores, setting up vendor tables, just really getting the name out to the public. So that's something that I think any franchise or business anywhere should really be doing, making those personal contacts. We would have in the big box, they would have to give out 500 cards or flyers per day per employee. Okay, imagine if I have 3 employees doing that. That's 1,500 personal contacts that just got given out. Out of those, a very small percentage of return that you're going to get back. But if you do it over and over and over again, they're going to keep seeing the name. A month from then, they're not going to remember why they know Delta Life Fitness name, but they know it. And then they're going to actually come in and try it out. So I think that one is one really, really important tactic that people are just not using enough because it's old school. They're using a lot of social media marketing, which is great. We have to go with the times. However, it's a tried and true tactic that I think we need to make sure that we're really incorporating into our businesses.
That's really good. And the guerrilla stuff just backs up your paid advertising too. Like, you may not see the direct ROI on handing out all those cards, but you run into somebody at a networking event, you give them a card, and they get a direct mail piece in their mailbox. Then they see a Facebook ad. Their trust in the brand is so much higher, and they're so much more likely to click the link because they know Amanda, they saw her, they have the direct mail piece sitting on their kitchen table, and then they see the Facebook ad. It goes a long ways.
100%. And I know we don't like when, you're outside of going into, let's just say Walmart, for example, and there's somebody sitting there and they have a booth up, and then you feel obligated to walk over to them or look at the ground while you're walking by because you don't want to be called over. Yep. But they know you and they see you and they remember you if you are at that vendor, or if you're offering them something for free, or you're even giving them a smile. They're going to remember, hey, I saw this company. I didn't go over to them. I didn't approach them. They didn't come after me, but they smiled at me, waved at me, offered me something for free. And I remember that. I'm going to remember that, especially here in Texas.
Yeah.
You guys really.
Well, and I think it goes, Delta talks a lot about the persona of the brand. You're selling the person, and that's what that is. It's that smile, it's that kind word, it's the compliment. That matters a lot to a woman, especially, that you cared enough to say something nice, to offer them something for free, and you're selling that brand. You're selling who you are as a person to somebody else. And you only can do that if your feet are on the street. You can't do that on Facebook.
I agree. It's got to be face to face.
Oh, that's such a good point. Because one of the number one objections we get for women coming to try a new class at Delta Life is you've heard it a million times, like, oh, I could never do that, or that'd be too hard for me, or that's too intimidating for me. When really we've created Delta Life to be the place just for those women. Like, we are extremely welcoming. We create positive communities of women. And you make a good point. The only way to really prove to them that we're a positive community of women is to be out in the community smiling, shaking their hand.
And doing that nice thing, being at that volunteer event, being at that grand opening for another business, just to congratulate them and say, great job, because we're in the same community, we're sharing.
That's true. Man, so important. So important. It's good stuff.
So other things, we talked about like the guerrilla tactics, but really even like corporations, right? They have employees. So going into those corporations, so the personal contacts, going out, smiling at people, handing them stuff, setting up the vendor tables, and then next step would be, let me go to your company.
It's been, and I've watched you do it with such ease. Like you came in and she's had all these meetings, and you have a meeting tomorrow with 27 employees.
I have not a meeting, I have a sign up with 27
Yeah,
employees
to go meet up
tomorrow.
with a corporation.
Can
and
we
meet
do
with-
that round of applause thing?
Right, yeah. Come on, that was,
Great job.
I'll pause that too.
that's really cool.
Yeah, and you know what it was?
And all you had to do was ask.
And it wasn't a huge corporation. It was a small mom and pop company, and they're not approached. Maybe the hospitals are approached, but these mom and pops are not approached. So they actually felt good to say, hey, I want to work with you. I want to, you to be a strategic partner. I would like to offer your employees discounts. Would you like to come with us to events? Is there some way that we can kind of help each other out? We're in the same community. Let's see what we can do for each other.
And if you look at the trend right now is a lot of the bigger corporations are trying to incentivize their employees and their staff to start going out, working out, being more active, meditation, stretching, yoga, and whatever. So obviously, preemptive striking that, getting in front of that, will definitely help your membership base.
And a lot of times now they actually have all this extra wellness money. So if their employees get down to a certain BMI, they get a huge bonus.
Yeah.
Even their insurance companies are giving lower premiums if they're at a certain BMI, or even that they even have check-ins. You don't even have to change your BMI, but check-ins to a gym.
And isn't it something they do it with their Fitbit too?
They can
They
connect.
can
a lot of
connect
ways.
it and all see it as at a corporate level that they're moving.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Exactly. So who do you reach out to be able to get those corporate deals? Though it's very scary as a business owner to go, how do I get into these places? So that's a question that I've had asked to me by other franchisees that are around. They go, how do I actually get into these places? Well, first of all, you got to make the phone call. You got to go into their place. You have to show them who you are as a business, and start from there.
And you have to ask.
100%. You have
And
to ask.
you were saying about being on the community. I've watched Jessica, another one of the team members you guys brought down. Not you, Jessica. Another Jessica. She was at an event this Saturday, and I saw her. She would literally, like you said about like people walking by and not making eye contact, and like were me, I would just kind of stand there behind my table and be like, well, she doesn't want to talk to me. Jessica would go out around the booth, go up to her, be like, hey, you got to come try a workout with me. I'll meet you there and I'll do the workout with you. Instantly broke down all the barriers. But that's not the sexiest thing to do, dragging in a member one at a time. But sometimes that's what makes a successful business successful. You can't just build it and they will come. It's a whole bunch of phone calls and emails that go nowhere and you get no response. It's a whole bunch of trying to set up those corporate meetings with nobody telling you yes. Maybe you do get the corporate event and then nobody signs up. It's a whole bunch of events where you only get 5 names. It's dragging people in where you only get 1 or 2 at a time. But it's a lot of action. And when you do that action, that's what grows your business. And there's just so much left that is still on the operator as the franchisee to go out and drag those people to their business. But it's tough.
And you have to realize it's not just about closing the deal. It's about actually being out there and showing face for the company.
So, real quick, I think we got about to go on break, but perspective, Amanda, you've been down here, you've been calling businesses, you've been trying to set up corporate incentives. Let's give us a ballpark. Out of 10 phone calls you get, how many do you actually successfully close? Be truthful with everybody.
So yesterday I probably made about 80 phone calls and I sent out probably about 30 emails. And out of those, I have about 10 appointments this week. So
That's
it's
awesome.
a lot of calling and emailing, and sometimes it's the same people. You have to reach out back to them 3 days later just to see. So it's, you're probably going to get about 10%, honestly, that actually even want to speak to you. And out of that 10%, maybe about another 50% of those that will actually book that appointment
So,
with you.
business owners listening right now realize that, hey, if I make 80 calls, about 8 of them at that first initial contact I'll get, and then I'll have to continue to follow up, correct?
Correct. And go to
Okay.
those networking meetings, because you never know. I actually had 2 people from network meetings then give me names of people that I have appointments with next week.
Awesome. Well, good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Robbie, good point. Way to point out the numbers. It's, everybody wants, when we talk to any successful operator in any brand, it could be Massage Envy, it can be Orange Theory, it can be McDonald's, it can be anything. And you ask them, man, you're doing so much better than the rest of the franchisee base in your system or whatever it is. And everybody wants that magical bullet they have, that secret sauce.
Yeah.
It's usually just a lot of hard work.
Persistence.
Yeah, and what's good about franchising is that's what you should be worried about is the operations and growing the business. Don't worry about the franchisor needs to be looking forward. And if he's not, then you didn't do a good job validating the brand. But the franchisor needs to be looking forward and saying, where is the market going? How are we going to make this successful in the long run? Where are the holes in the programming or whatever we're serving, the hamburger or whatever? And the operator needs to be operating, making sure that they're giving feedback to the franchisor so the franchisor can make it better.
operate, give your feedback every quarter, operate, give your feedback every quarter, operate. And like you said, you've got a brand looking forward, looking at the competition, innovating, coming up with new things. You don't have to think about that. You can just operate and send up feedback on what's working, what's not. We're going to kick it over to a break. We will be right back on Texas Franchise Radio.
All right.
This is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talk.
From the beginning, the main purpose of the Cooperative Extension Service has been to change human behavior by teaching people how to apply the results of scientific research. By utilizing a holistic, multi-level approach, Extension family and community health programs encourage health and well-being for everyone. Addressing values, concerns, and needs with reliable science-based information, Extension programs help people lead healthier lives. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question, comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station on irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
It's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business? Well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talking about? We talking business models, invest in franchises. We going full throttle. Learn about the industry.
Conroe, Houston, welcome back, Texas Franchise Radio. I've bought into a franchise system. Now what? We're talking about successful tips that, the difference, there's a lot of great qualities about buying into a franchise system, but there's still so much work to be done by the owner-operator. There's a lot of benefit in really investing fully in learning and knowing how to operate the brand prior to opening up your own studio. There's a lot of great advantages to doing that, getting more than just the minimum required training the brand's going to offer. There's still a lot of great things you can do to grow your business outside of the actual paid marketing that the brand's going to support you on. Robbie made a good point. There's out of all those things that you can really just put your head down as a franchisee and operate and just focus on hitting those numbers and driving your team and incentivizing your team. You're kind of free of thinking about innovation of the model. Leave that up to the brand. Pass your feedback up to them. You owe them that. You want to make the brand push forward, but you can really focus on operating. Some real benefits there of franchising. And if you do it right, if you've got a good leadership team at the headquarters level that's looking at the competition, innovating, taking the feedback from the franchisees, living in a 90-day world, recreating everything, and you're out executing, a brand can really gain a lot of market share pretty quickly.
That sounds like the perfect play for somebody who's a general manager. I started in a company, I'm a general manager, but I don't really know the outside business aspect, but I know I want to go in as an entrepreneur. Well, you kind of have all that structure set up for you. So really, you have your guidelines, you can focus on actually doing what you do best, managing and operating.
Mm-hmm. A general manager is really good. One of the best sayings I ever heard was, for a franchisee, you got like a post office worker on one side of the scale, and you got like Steve Jobs on the other side of the scale. Like a perfect franchisee is kind of right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Like they got a little bit of entrepreneurial tendencies, but they've got really secure, safe job as well. A general manager would make a great franchisee, building an asset for herself or himself.
I agree.
All right, let's dive in a little bit. Let's beat up on Jessica and Amanda here. Let's ask them some questions. Hey, even all the great things we talked about with franchising, all the great qualities that are there, and you even have friends that are running successful studios already. It's still a terrifying thing. It's scary. It's why people stay at that corporate job way past when they wanted to leave. So, Jessica, what did you do to get past the fear of everything that holds you back from opening your own business? How did you get past that?
Surprisingly for me, there wasn't a lot of fear. Because I had been part of this brand for so long, I had a lot of trust in this brand. So yes, I had to jump over that fear of the loss of income from my existing job. And I had to get my financial backers, my parents, on board with doing that. And they had a lot of fear.
And
because
Bob's no easy sell.
No easy sell. Either is Betsy. So I had to get them over fear more than myself because I was in it and I trusted it and I believed in the brand because of my own success. It was more convincing them because I knew what I wanted.
Yeah. What about you, Amanda? I mean, I know you come from a long line of entrepreneurial journeys, but still, I imagine yet again, and this time with a newborn, there had to be some fear there. How do you get past that?
Well, it's different. It's different when you're going from like a single business that you own to now under a franchise who can kind of dictate different things for you. Also, the fear of having to take money off of my top end tier and then give it to somebody else. So to me, that was very scary. And when I really started looking more into franchising versus just like starting up a new company, my biggest thing was I would rather pay somebody to do what they do best and then not have to think about it. So that's really what took the fear away, because my biggest fear was going, oh, I have to start all over. We got to come up with new branding. We got to pay all this money. What if it costs more than what we're estimating? And so really digging into that and seeing what franchising actually can offer me to take that stress away, that's what removed the fear. Not knowing that I don't have to do all that stuff myself.
Yeah. Wow. And I know you guys looked at a lot of different brands that are out there.
We did, a lot.
I'm a little biased towards the one you chose, so I appreciate you. But I do know that you choosing the brand doesn't mean that this brand is better than any of the other ones. I know that it means that it was the better choice for you and what lines up for you personally. And I've heard you speak about Delta Life on the radio previously. So just tell us a little bit about why was Delta Life, why did you know that was the right brand for you?
So we looked into a lot of others. We looked into Orange Theory and Eat the Frog and some of the other different, things that are out there. And they were interesting, But when I heard about Delta Life, first of all, it had great structure, which I appreciated. But it hit me personally. We keep preaching about the persona of Delta Life. And I don't know if, unless you've been through it, if you actually can understand what that means. I have 3 kids, all boys. They're all pretty far apart in age. So my youngest here, I was on bed rest the whole time. I was in very good shape beforehand, been in fitness a long time. I was on bed rest for 9 months. I mean, literally couldn't get up besides to go to the couch and right back, right? Who's going to cook? My husband doesn't cook. Who's going to cook? So we did a lot of Uber Eats, a lot of really bad food. I didn't even gain that much weight, but I felt awful. Afterwards, I had a lot of issues with some health stuff as well. And then just trying to get back into it. We owned a gym, but I can't take my baby in there because there's no daycare, right? So here I am running a gym, overweight, feeling uncomfortable about myself, feeling uncomfortable about how people are viewing me in there. So even if I did have somebody to watch the baby, I don't want to go in there, So it was really a very big emotional toll on myself. I heard about Delta Life, and they really answered all of my issues, Yes, I can bring my baby. I don't have much time. I operate a business. Well, guess what? It's only 30 minutes. And not only that, but with my limitations that I got, going through the pregnancy, having some medical issues, I can actually modify it to me. So it hit all those points. I actually cried whenever I heard about it. And they were going, this is great. And they're reading it all off. And they look over and I'm literally crying. And what's wrong with you? I'm like, that's me. That's the gym for me.
So if you're listening, and we go back to that, how do you select the right franchise?
You cry. That's how you select it.
When it's so,
you feel it
when
inside.
it's so personal to you that you cry, that's the one you go with.
Yeah. The others I completely forgot about. Yeah, it is. I have cried about a burger too.
Well, that's what you hear a lot of the food. People are like, hey, I've been going to the sandwich shop for the last 10 years and really love the sandwich.
Let's buy in.
Yeah. So some of them end up buying the whole brand. I think we talked to a couple of them about the whole brand, so they loved it so much. So.
And Amanda, if you're wondering, it's for sale. So
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Jessica, what about you? Why? I know you had a history with Delta Life, but
I did. I started off at the Bay Area location because I lived down south at the time. Again, same story. A few months after having my son and having gained weight from him and my previous child, who's now 7, I thought, I've got to do something, right? And my house was on the market. I was planning on moving. And on my membership agreement, it said she can cancel whenever she wants because she's selling her house. No, whatever. So I ended up being there for 18 months. I worked in the kid room. I was a coach there and cried when I left because I had to leave and come up here where there was no Delta Life Fitness. You guys were still in Florida at the time, and we had to work our way through it. So I knew I had a heart for this brand.
if you got Kevin to agree to that cancellation clause, I should have known you were a good negotiator.
I don't think it was Kevin. It was Jen.
I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
It was Jen that allowed it.
Jen Taylor, one of our franchisees down in Friendswood, kicking butt down there. I saw she took the day off to go to Slitterbond today, by
Good
the
for
way.
her.
So, yeah, she's doing all the good. Okay, so let's talk about, now you're here and you're bought in. What's your plan to be successful? In 30 seconds or less, because Dick just gave us the cue. We're about to have to move over to Stump the Chump. So what's your personal plan to be successful with this brand?
I'm going to personally flood the area around my franchise full of Delta Life. I'm going to be out everywhere. I'm going to wear my Delta Life shirts. I'm going to talk to every single person I know, personally invite them in. I'm going to talk to companies to try to get them to come in to do, team building exercises and stuff like that. Just really get that name out. And myself, I'm going to depend on myself for that, nobody else.
And that, like Robbie said again, that's the beautiful thing about a franchise is that's all that's left. You don't have to think up workouts. You don't have to make movement videos. You don't have to think of the payment processor or how to enter contracts or how to write a waiver or how to do an employee handbook. Like, all that's left is to do exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You also got to understand people just naturally, we'll see it, they'll naturally, sales or marketing's uncomfortable, so they'll find anything to do other than that. If that's how you are, one, either you power through that wall or that barrier you have, or two, you find somebody like Amanda.
You hire them.
Who's good at it.
You just
good
hire
at
a
it.
sales manager.
Exactly. That's good at it, that loves it. Because, I listen to what Amanda's doing down here for us, and that is not my style. But, I am in amazement of what she's been able to do in the community. And it's very inspiring, but it also shows me a lot about, hey, that's not my strength. If you ask me to go find corporate incentives, no, just not going to. No, I'm not saying I will. People do what they have to do to survive. Like I've been there, and Josh and everybody that's part of the team knows that. But I'm amazed when you talk on the ride up here. You're telling me everything you're doing. You're doing a great job, and I'm very very
so
proud
much.
of it.
Thank you, and you can handle my organization at this point. You can help structure everything else for me.
All right, we got to move over to something
Here we
but
go.
30 seconds or less.
Okay.
Do you have what's
Yeah.
going to make you successful tactic?
My goal when I decided to open here in Conroe was I wanted to make a difference in Conroe, in where I'm at. So my goal is to get out there and make a difference. And I think if I can make a difference in someone else's life, they'll trust me to make a difference in theirs, right?
I like it.
Love
Two great answers. We'll get some on-the-air fist pumps. You have to so people can hear it. All right, here we go. Stump the Chump. We got Big Rob versus Da Girls. Rules, I'm going to ask each of you 4 questions. You get 1 point for each correct answer. If you don't know the answer, the other participant will get a chance to answer. If it's a closest to, it's Price is Right rules win, right? So closest one to
He's
it.
making a tally
wins.
sheet over
Let's
there.
see.
He's
I
super
gotta make
accurate.
sure.
My
I gotta make sure I get cheated out of this thing.
He knows I've been known to lose the score. Started off with a really easy couple of questions just to get us going. Girls, and either of you can answer. Who is the current sitting president of the United States of America?
Go for it, Amanda.
Trump.
You're laughing.
Donald Trump. That is correct. Doug Girls on
That
the
is
board.
an easy question.
I was like, what are we talking about?
No, yeah, I do. I give both of y'all an easy one just to get us warmed up. Robbie, who is the current sitting president of Colombia? You should know this.
I know, and I don't. I have no idea.
Ivan Marquez. Oh, sorry. I was supposed to give
That was
y'all
a
a
point
chance
for
to know that. Did y'all know that?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Big
We're
Rob.
honest. Yeah.
Big Rob 0.
You got no points.
Girls, Franchise Chatter, a really great place to get some franchise info, just released a survey of the top 20 fitness franchises of 2018. Where there's been a lot of talk. We all know one of the hottest brands out right now in fitness franchising. Who had the number 1 spot for that 2018 survey, if you had to guess?
I'm going to go with OTF.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
That's correct. Orange Theory Fitness still ranked number 1 and climbing on the Entrepreneurs 500 Inc. list. OTF is 1. The girls get 2 points. Robbie, same survey from Franchise Chatter. And you should know this one as well, too. So just giving you a heads up. Spot number 20. So they took spot number 1. Spot number 20, also a brand that you know. Which brand is it? It's a fitness brand.
Spot number 20.
It's the very last one. Spot number 20.
Curves.
Wrong. It was Fitwall.
Fitwall. Okay.
Fitwall with anybody know how many units Fitwall has open?
3.
8.
Good question. Good. It's down to 6.
6.
So they
Okay.
have 6. We've been on a lot of lists lately. Fitwall was on there and we weren't. I'm pretty upset about it. I need to
Yeah.
reach out to Franchise Chatter. We are coming out in the top 10 franchises 2019 next month though, so I'm pretty excited about
Amazing.
that. Robbie, you get 0 points. All right, girls. Smart Company did a study in 2018 to see if franchise companies had a greater success rate than startups. Amanda, you were talking about this earlier. Can you guess what the success rate for franchise companies was during this survey? For franchise companies, what was the percentage of franchise companies open that didn't close prematurely? What's the success
More
rate
than half, I would
percentage?
think.
I would
Right?
say like 80%.
Yeah, I was
wouldn't
gonna go with like 70. So like more, yeah,
Can we say more than 50?
more than 50.
So 80 was your final guess?
Yes.
All right, Robbie, you got a guess?
85%.
This dude. Oh, hate giving Robbie points. According to the Smart Company, the study they did in 2018, the success rate of franchise companies was 90%.
Wow.
It was 90%.
That was close.
Points for the guy.
Big Rob is on board.
On the board for one.
Robbie, back to you.
All right, Aaron, about to catch up.
Same survey. What did they find the success rate of startups to be? Same survey. 2018,
2018 startups, just regular startups.
Smart Company.
What is the time frame? Did they give a time frame?
The study was done in 2018.
We'll say 48%.
And girls?
I was gonna say 30.
I'm gonna say 25%.
Just go like, I mean, if I
Is
was...
it 5 years? Is it 10 years? I mean, like, what is the term?
Robbie
Is
did
it
four.
Go
gone?
ahead, give me that point.
Robbie
Just
did
go ahead.
48. If I was y'all, I'd probably just a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, 45.
Oh, 45? Well, that's gonna... It's 40. It's 40%.
We were there.
That's hilarious.
Robbie,
Closest without going over
Yeah.
the girls.
Price is right, right?
Can't we?
This game is so rigged. Girls, according to fitsmallbusiness.com, SBA default rates for franchises range from 8% to some brands range at over 92%
Holy moly.
failure rate on SBA loans that they write, right? Okay. What is the percent defaults on SBA loans, or what was the percentage of defaults on SBA loans according to fitsmallbusiness.com study? What is the percentage of defaults on SBA loans for Massage Envy businesses that all the way from 2000 to 2018? What was the percentage of loans that defaulted?
15%?
That was a long question.
I feel like it was a lot.
Like I forgot halfway through. I don't even know
Like,
what the
what
question
are
is
we
at this
actually
point.
talking about? Because it was about fitness earlier, and then now
Yeah.
it's not. It's about massages.
So Massage Envy. Massage Envy. There was 197 SBA loans for Massage Envy from 2000 to 2018. What percentage of those 197 SBA loans for those Massage Envies failed, didn't get repaid?
I'm going to stick with my 40,
40%?
just because that was the answer on the last one.
Oh,
I'm at 15. I'm kind of low
15?
on that.
all right. I'll meet y'all in the middle and go with 20. Robbie, what do you? What's your guess?
Well, am I going against all three of y'all?
No, their combined was 20%.
He combined
20.
ours.
So
They're-
I'll say 19%.
Well, it's 20%. The girls get a point.
He's so
20%. So from 2000 to 2018, there was 197 Massage Envy loans written, and 39 of them defaulted. 197, 39 defaulted. So that's a good brand. It's had a lot of success. So
Yeah.
it goes back to what you said. I mean, even in the right brand, you're going to have failures. So
Even McDonald's.
even McDonald's.
Yeah, for all those guys out there that commenting on Instagram that it prints money.
All right, Robbie, we got one question left and
We
2
running out
minutes
of
to
time?
get it in. We're running
We're
out of time. Robbie, same survey. Image Sun, which is just a tanning, it's a professional tanning salon. What was their SBA loan default rate according to this article? From 2000 to 2018, what was their percentage of defaults? Image Sun.
Probably high. 75%.
Girls?
I'm going to say, yeah, 50%. Yeah.
Robbie gets that one. It's 80%. So from 2000 to 2018, they wrote 41 loans, 33 defaulted.
You know why? I know why.
I don't, and I'm just hoping.
I mean,
Cancer is real.
not them in particular, but the tanning industry. So
Oh.
Cancer is real.
Yep.
that came out, and then also they got hit with a 10% tax that was lobbied for. So now they actually have to pay higher sales tax.
All right, let me tally up the
particular- yeah.
scores here. It's 2-5. So I think the winner, easy to say, is the girls. Well done. Hey, thanks for listening to Texas Franchise Radio. Today we signed a franchise agreement. Now what? Best practices, best steps to do after you've signed a franchise. We'll see you back next month right here on
right.
Texas Franchise Radio.
Thank you for listening to Texas Franchise Radio, where we bring on all the local franchise experts. If you liked the show, please share it with your friends. If you have any questions you'd like answered live on the show, send them to @Texas Franchise Radio on Facebook. Till next time.
Texas Franchise Radio. You ready? Let's go. Robbie and Josh going live, and it's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh,